New Orleans never gave you room to breathe. If you were born in Calio Projects, like we were, you didn't cry when you came out the womb. You held your breath, waited for the gunfire to stop, then started living. Every building looked like it had been hit by a war no one officially declared. Metal doors, cracked concrete, bullet-pierced mailboxes. Hope? That was a myth told by people who didn't live there. I was the oldest. Percy. But Kevin. Kevin was the one everyone looked at. He wasn't loud. He didn't have to be. That dude walked into a room, and it shifted. Something in his eyes. Like he'd already seen too much, but didn't flinch. He was born March 12, 1968. Second oldest of 5. Corey, Bonn, Germany, and then us. Our family was tight, not because we had it good, but because we had no choice. We lived like stacked matchsticks in our grandparents' 3-bedroom house, 16 of us, 1 bathroom. You learned patience and silence fast, especially when food ran low. Some days we'd pour water on old cereal and act like it was part of the recipe. But Kevin? He could turn anything into laughter. He'd dance at house parties, DJ with me when we were just boys, spinning records on a busted turntable like we were already on stage. He had this ability to light a room without ever flicking a switch. Then came 1983. Grandpa Claude died after the VA gave him the wrong meds. Man survived the streets, raised 12 kids, and died in a hospital bed over a label mix-up. That broke something in Kevin. Broke something in me too. We stopped waiting for miracles. Started trying to build our own. Basketball became our religion. Court was sacred ground. That sound of sneakers on pavement, chain nets rattling, it was the only thing louder than the gunshots. Me and Kev would play until our palms bled, dreaming about the NBA, about signing contracts that didn't involve blood oaths or back alley whispers. But dreams got heavy in Calio, and the streets started whispering Kevin's name. The Tuesday Crew, that's what they called themselves. Not a gang, not officially, but everybody knew. 7 of them. Clean fits, gold ropes, matching 5.0 Mustangs. Their swagger was loud, but their movements were surgical. Kevin wasn't the leader, not by title, but trust me, when he spoke, they listened. You could tell by how people looked at him. Respect, fear, maybe a little of both. I tried to pull him out early. Come to Cali with me, I'd say, once I moved to Richmond. We can flip this. Start a business. You ain't gotta die out here. But Kev would smirk, light a cigarette, and say, man, I was born in the fire. I don't burn. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe he was untouchable. But New Orleans has a way of humbling the bold. And when I got that call in 1990, everything stopped. Kevin was gone. 4 bullets to the back of the head. Left on the side of I-10 like trash. His body sat there for almost 2 weeks before someone smelled the decay and called it in. I drove from Richmond to New Orleans in silence. Didn't stop. Didn't cry. Just gripped the wheel like if I let go, I'd fall apart completely. Kevin wasn't just my brother. He was my shadow, my reflection, the part of me that still believed we could outrun where we came from. I didn't get to say goodbye, but I would make damn sure the world remembered his name. The day we buried Kevin, the sky didn't cry. It just hung low, heavy and waiting, like it knew the city was about to explode all over again. I stood there, beside my mother, beside Corey who had gone AWOL just to be there, and we watched them lower my brother into the ground. The preacher spoke, but I don't remember the words. What do you even say when the city takes another one of your own and calls it Tuesday? People came out in waves. The whole block showed up, some out of love, some out of fear, and some just to make sure it was true. That Kevin Miller, the heart of the Tuesday Crew, was gone for real. Not in jail. Not hiding. Not laying low. Gone. And the most messed up part? His killer was a kid. 17 years old. Kenneth Williams. Rode in the backseat like a friend, pulled out a gun like an enemy, and shot Kevin in the head. 4 times. No warning. No honor. Just silence, then smoke. Melvin Ratcliffe, the 3rd in the car, claimed he was too scared to stop it, said he helped dump the body out of fear. Said it like it made it better. 8 years. That's what Kenneth got. 8. And Melvin? 2. My brother was dead, and they'd be walking free before the pain even started to fade. And then there was the baby. Kevin didn't just leave behind a name. He left behind a son he never got to meet. A little boy who'd grow up without a father, hearing stories that ended in gunshots and funeral hymns. That broke something in me deeper than any bullet ever could. Because that's what the streets steal, not just lives, but legacies. After the funeral, I made a promise. Not out loud. Not to the crowd. Just me, standing there in the dirt, talking to Kevin like he was leaning on that old lamppost on Galvez Street again. "I swear to you," I said, "this won't be the end. Your name ain't going out like this. I'll make them remember you for more than how you died." And I meant it. When I got back to California, I didn't just grieve, I worked. Turned pain into power. That little record store I bought with our grandpa's settlement money, I turned it into No Limit Records. I didn't wait for help. I made it happen. Every beat, every rhyme, every decision, I did it with Kevin in mind. I brought Corey out after he left the army, gave him a name, C-Murder, and put a mic in his hand. Then I pulled in our younger brother Vashin, turned him into Silk the Shocker. Germany helped behind the scenes. We weren't just making music. We were building something sacred. I wanted No Limit to be a fortress, a way out, a sanctuary. I didn't trust outsiders, so I kept it family. We recorded in makeshift studios, sold CDs out the trunk, pressed our own merchandise. Hustled like the rent was always due and time was always running out. And slowly, the world started paying attention. People weren't just hearing us, they were feeling us. Because what we were putting out wasn't just music. It was grief. It was survival. It was truth. And the truth hit harder than any beat. We dropped Ice Cream Man, I'm About It, Ghetto D. Every song a story. Every album a monument to the life we came from, and the ones we lost. And then came the song that changed everything. I Miss My Homies. That one was for Kevin. No metaphors. No hiding. Just raw pain laid bare over a beat that felt like a heartbeat slowing down. When that track dropped, people didn't just listen, they wept. Because they'd lost people too. And in that moment, they knew we weren't just rappers. We were witnesses. We were testifying. And every word was for my brother. The thing about success is, it don't make the pain smaller, it just makes it quieter. You don't cry as loud when the money's good, but the ache? It stays. It hides behind gold chains and tour buses and bank deposits. It waits for you in hotel rooms when the crowd's gone. And some nights, when it got real quiet, I'd hear Kevin's laugh like he was still right beside me. But we didn't slow down. Couldn't. No Limit wasn't just rising, it was erupting. By 1998, we dropped 23 albums in 1 year. 23. All of them went gold or platinum. That tank logo? It was more than branding, it was armor. We weren't just rappers anymore. We were moguls, businessmen, icons. The world watched us move and tried to catch up. People didn't get it. They thought we were lucky. Nah, we were focused. And we worked like we owed the dead. Corey, as C-Murder, was killing it in the booth. Silk had that fast, unpredictable flow nobody could touch. And me, Master P, I was building something bigger than music. I had my hands in films, fashion, sports drinks, everything. If it made money, I figured out a way to make it ours. But even in the middle of all that noise, I didn't forget the silence of Kevin's absence. His name was in the liner notes. His face was in the shadows of every video. That's why we said it loud in our songs, not to mourn, but to remind, to honor, to let the world know that the man who never got to rap a verse still had a verse in everything we did. Then came the NBA. Yeah, you heard that right. I made it to the league, not as a mascot, not as a gimmick, but as a player. I trained every morning before sunrise. Ran drills while the rest of the team was sleeping. I didn't want a handout. I wanted to earn that jersey. And I did. First the Charlotte Hornets. Then the Toronto Raptors. Preseason games, sure, but real ones. I stepped onto that court with P. Miller across my back and fire in my chest. I remember looking up at the scoreboard during a timeout and whispering, "Kev, you see this? We made it, man." It wasn't just a dream fulfilled. It was proof. Proof that we weren't limited by the projects, by the poverty, by the pain. We were bigger, stronger. But here's the twist, success didn't bring peace. It brought shadows. Old beefs didn't die. They just waited. And while I was running plays on the court, the streets back home were calling another one of my brothers. Corey. See, C-Murder never stopped being real. Too real, maybe. While I tried to insulate us from the life we came from, he kept one foot in it. Still pulled up to clubs. Still had that fire in his eyes. Still stared down anybody who looked twice. Then came that night. A club in Harvey. Packed. Loud. Charged. A kid named Steve Thomas ends up shot. Witnesses scrambled. The story twisted. Cops swarmed. Corey got arrested. Charged with second-degree murder. It didn't matter that the case was full of holes. That witnesses recanted. That the evidence was damn near non-existent. They didn't care. All they saw was a black man with murder in his name and gold on his neck. The media spun it. The DA grinned. And the system? It swallowed my brother whole. Life in prison. Just like that. And I felt it all again. The same ache. The same rage. Like Kevin's death wasn't enough. Like the streets hadn't hurt us enough. Now Corey too? I sat in that courtroom, staring at a judge who looked bored, while they erased my brother's life with the slam of a gavel. And in my heart, I screamed, not again. Corey going down hit different. With Kevin, it was sudden. One phone call, a shot in the dark, a funeral in silence. But with Corey, I had to watch it happen in slow motion. I had to sit in a courtroom while they dissected my brother's life like it was a character in a movie. Like he wasn't a real person. Like we hadn't all clawed our way out of the same gutter. And when the verdict came down, I didn't even cry. I just sat there numb, watching him get let out in cuffs, jaw tight, shoulders squared, eyes locked on mine like, hold it together, P. Because that's what I always had to do. Be the one who holds it all together. But the truth? I was breaking. No Limit was still making money, still on the charts. But I could feel the ground shifting. The machine that we built, was running on fumes now. I was too busy fighting for my family to keep chasing new hits. The industry changes fast, and I was too loyal to notice. Too heart-heavy to adapt. I saw artists I helped blow up walk away when the wind shifted. I saw suits in the boardroom smile one day and disappear the next. I'd go to the studio, try to rap, but the words felt heavy in my mouth, like they didn't belong to me anymore. Kevin was gone. Corey was locked up. And all the pressure, the family, the business, the legacy, it all sat on my shoulders like bricks soaked in blood. Then one night, I was alone in the studio. Just me and a half-lit console. No engineers, no beats playing. Just quiet. I was flipping through old photos on my phone. One came up. Me and Kevin, back when we were kids. He had his arm slung around my neck like he always did, chin lifted, daring the world to try something. I stared at that picture for a long time. Then I whispered something out loud, not even thinking, just feeling. I don't know if I can do this anymore. I meant it. I was ready to disappear. Shut it all down. Move somewhere no one knew me. Leave the tank behind. Leave the name. Let No Limit fade out like an old mixtape. But then, Romeo walked in. He had this calmness about him, this quiet strength that Kevin used to have. He didn't say much. Just sat next to me, looked at the screen, and then said something I didn't expect. You said this was for Uncle Kev. You said this was for all of us. So what now? You gonna stop fighting just 'cause it's hard? And just like that, something in me snapped back into place. That's the thing about family. They break you, yeah, but they also build you, rebuild you, remind you who you were when you start forgetting. So I made a choice. If I couldn't save Kevin, if I couldn't free Corey, then I would do whatever it took to protect the next generation. No more chasing validation from the industry. No more giving time to people who only loved me when the money was flowing. I was going to rebuild, not as a rapper, not as a brand, but as a father, a brother, a man who made it through hell and still stood tall. Romeo became my new mission. I got him into acting, music, business, but always with balance. Always with the lesson. Don't let the streets teach you what I had to learn the hard way. Because I knew something he didn't know yet, something Kevin and Corey taught me with blood and bars and handcuffs. The streets don't care how famous you are, but your family does. When the dust settled, I looked around and realized I was standing in the ruins of my own empire. The music game had moved on new sounds, new faces, new rules. No Limit, once a machine of steel and fire, had started to rust. And maybe that was my fault. Maybe I spent too much time trying to hold together what couldn't be saved. Maybe I thought loyalty would protect us from the collapse. But if there's one thing the streets and the music industry have in common, it's this. They don't wait for you to catch up. So I made a choice. I stepped back, not out. I took everything I had, not just the money, but the pain, the lessons, the war stories, and I reinvested. Not into jewelry or cars or clout, but into businesses, into real estate, into programs for kids who looked like I used to. I started mentoring, showing up at schools, speaking at juvenile centers, telling my story, raw and unfiltered, because I wasn't trying to impress anymore. I was trying to save lives. And through it all, Romeo stayed close. He watched me rebuild, not from the top down, but from the inside out. He saw me turn my past into blueprints and my scars into armor. He understood that legacy wasn't just about success. It was about sustainability, about impact. So I poured into him, got him roles in movies, launched him as an artist, taught him how to move smart. I didn't just want him to win. I wanted him to win well, to win with honor, with peace. with balance. Because I'd already paid the price for chasing the dream with both fists clenched and no exit plan. And you know what? He did it. Romeo grew into a man who didn't have to bury his friends, who didn't have to sell his soul to be seen, who didn't have to fear the sound of tires slowing near the curb. And every time I watched him perform, whether it was on stage, on screen, or just in life, I saw Kevin in him. That same fire, that same light, just channeled into something safer, something softer, something whole. Meanwhile, I stayed busy, not just with Romeo's rise, but with building up my community. I launched food brands, cleaning services, sports leagues, clothing lines, but everything I touched now had purpose stitched into the seams. No more empty wins. Because Kevin's death didn't just break me, it rewired me. And Corey's incarceration? It reminded me that even with all my power, I couldn't protect everyone, but I could prepare the next ones better. I started hiring kids from the neighborhoods everyone forgot about. Gave them jobs, structure, a second chance. I told them, I don't care what you did. I care what you do next. Some of them made it out. Some didn't. That's just the truth. You can give a man a key, but he still has to turn the lock. And me? I stayed rooted. In my past, in my mission, in my promise. I never left New Orleans behind. I just refused to let it bury another generation. By the time I hit my 40s, the noise had died down. No more reporters outside my door. No more lines around the block for no limit releases. Fame faded like posters on a weathered brick wall, still visible, but torn at the edges. And honestly, I welcomed it. Because it was in that silence that I could finally hear what I'd been avoiding for years. The voices inside. See, grief doesn't die. It just waits. And when life slows down, it starts talking again. Late at night, when the house is quiet and the world isn't looking, I still hear Kevin sometimes. Not like a ghost, but like a memory with weight. Him laughing, mocking me for my suits and clean-cut image. Him daring me to be raw again. And I listen, because part of me still needs his approval, even now. And Corey? He's still locked up. Still fighting for his life in a system built to bury men like us. I visit when I can, right? Talk to his lawyers, push for justice. But every time I walk out of that prison, the guilt comes rushing in. I'm free. He's not. I made it out. He didn't. And the worst part? We both tried. There's a different kind of pain in knowing your best wasn't enough to save the people you love. It eats at you. Makes you question everything you built. But I fight that, too. I fight it with purpose. With movement. With love. Because if I let the pain win, then what did we survive for? So I pour into the community. Into kids who never met Kevin but wear no limit shirts like armor. Into young entrepreneurs who grew up on our music and want to build their own empires. Into parents trying to raise kids in the same blocks that almost swallowed me whole. And I stay present. With Romeo. With my family. I tell stories, not just about the money or the fame, but the nights we went hungry. The funeral. The trial. The feeling of being invincible until the moment you're not. Because truth matters more than image. Especially now. Sometimes I visit Kevin's grave, sit cross-legged in the grass like we're on the porch again. I don't bring flowers. I bring stories. Updates. I tell him what's happening with No Limit, with Romeo, with Corey's latest appeal. I tell him about the kid I met who started his own label in Baton Rouge, who said he grew up listening to Ghetto D, and it changed his life. And I swear, in that moment, I feel peace. Not the kind that forgets the pain, but the kind that respects it. The kind that says, you made it through. And you made it matter. Because that's the truth. For all the loss. For all the hurt. For everything the streets took from me, I still built something that lasts. And Kevin? He never really left. He lives in every beat. Every bar. Every second chance I help create. He's the heartbeat behind the hustle. You reach a point in life where the winds don't shout anymore. They whisper. They come in moments, not milestones. They're not diamond plaques or chart toppers. They're smaller. Softer. But they hit deeper. Like the day Romeo graduated college, not a music award, not a film role. A degree. A future that didn't come wrapped in trauma. I stood there in the crowd clapping like any other proud father, but inside I was breaking. Because I remembered Kevin's words when we were kids, ain't nobody gonna graduate around here. Ain't no diplomas in Calio. But he was wrong. Romeo did. Then there was the time I met a young man in Houston. He walked up to me, shaking, holding a worn copy of The Ice Cream Man, said, "You don't know me, but your music stopped me from shooting somebody." He was maybe 19, maybe already broken, but that album gave him something else to believe in, something other than revenge. I shook his hand, told him, "That's Kevin. That's what he died for. Because it's true. Every business I've started, every kid I've mentored, every artist I've helped, it's all been part of that same promise I made when they lowered Kevin's casket into the ground. I will make this loss mean something. People talk about legacy like it's something you leave behind. But I live mine every day. I live it in how I treat people, in the chances I give, in the respect I carry for where I came from, and for everyone who didn't make it out. And I don't run from my past. Not anymore. Yeah, I was a street kid, a hustler, a man who built an empire while his heart was breaking. I made mistakes, trusted the wrong people, hurt people too in my own ways. But I've spent every year since Kevin's death trying to be better, trying to be what he would have been if he'd had more time. And I see it all now, clearer than I ever did when the money was flying in and the lights were flashing. Success without purpose is just noise. But success with purpose? That's a movement. That's no limit. Not just the label. Not just the name. It's a philosophy. A way of life. A refusal to be boxed in, counted out, buried without a fight. And now, when I look at Romeo, when I look at the community centers we've funded, the kids we've reached, the people we've inspired, I know we didn't just survive the storm. We became the shelter. There's a different kind of silence now. It's not the silence of trauma or fear or loss. It's not like that night I drove to New Orleans with my jaw clenched, knowing my brother was gone. It's not the courtroom hush after they sentenced Corey. It's not even the quiet before a concert crowd erupts. This silence, it's earned. It's the sound of legacy settling into the soil, of promises kept, of lives changed not by volume, but by intention. I walk slower now, not because I'm tired, but because I don't have to run anymore. I used to move like time was chasing me, like every second I slowed down meant the streets might catch up. But I buried that fear somewhere between the hunger and the hustle. I've lived 100 lives in one. Percy Miller, Master P, brother, father, CEO, mourner, warrior, preacher of the streets. And every version of me has carried Kevin in his chest like a heartbeat. I still visit his grave, but now I bring more than memories. I bring peace. I bring updates. I bring laughter. Sometimes I even bring Romeo. We stand there, the two of us, one man gone, another man grown, and we talk like Kevin's still listening. Because I believe he is. You don't lose someone like Kevin and just move on. You evolve around the loss. You grow like a tree that bent in the storm but kept reaching for the sky. And eventually, that tree shades others, offers shelter, offers proof. Proof that something beautiful can come from pain. That's my story. That's our story. The story of 5 kids from New Orleans who didn't have much except each other. The story of basketball dreams, funeral processions, studio sessions, and million-dollar visions. The story of betrayal, resilience, redemption, and above all, love. Because that's what it was. Through all the fire, through all the blood, through all the noise, it was always love. Love made us fight. Love made us build. Love made us survive. So if you're hearing this, if you're still reading, I want you to know one thing. No matter where you come from, no matter what you've lost, no matter how dark it gets, there's no limit to how far you can go. Just ask Kevin. He died too young, but he'll live forever. Right here. In the music. In the movement. In the story. Rest in peace, my brother. I kept my word.